Hello, I'm Tracy Grimshaw. Welcome to A Current Affair. We begin with a heartbroken mother's desperate plea to find out what happened to her missing daughter, Gordana. Tonight, we retrace the teen's last steps in a fresh appeal for information that could finally give her grieving family the answers they've been looking for.
Well, basically, in one word I can sort of describe her as a little angel. Very happy child. Nothing seems to worry her, or nothing was too much for her to do anything for anyone. That's why it's been hard to accept what has happened.
A full-scale search will be carried out for abducted 16-year-old Gordana Kotevsky.
You never forget cases like this. It's always on your mind and enthusiastic to solve.
A phone call come through that Gordana's gone missing. And that's when my whole world changed.
The grave fears tonight for the safety.
It's one of Australia's most baffling mysteries. How can a 16-year-old girl simply vanish?
You know, where were the parents? You know, how come she was walking on her own? But you don't know what's around the corner.
It was the evening of the 24th of November 1994. Gordana Kotevsky had been shopping with friends at Charlestown Square. As she was leaving the mall, she called her aunt on the payphone to say she was coming over and she'd be there soon.
I'm walking now. Okay, see you soon.
It was only 500 metres to her Aunt Sonia's house, down this suburban street bordered by bushland. Only she never made it that far.
It's almost 15 hours now since it was reported to the police, and this is completely out of character.
Not even 5 minutes of walk, you'd think she'd be safe.
It's always a concern that what the worst thing could happen. You know, the scenario was certainly looking like the worst had happened, but there's always hope. You don't lose hope.
Beside herself and desperate for answers, Gordana's mother, Peggy Kotevsky, and her family suddenly found the nation's media on their doorstep.
An angel, never been in trouble.
I just wanted some answers and, you know, communicated with the police as much as like almost 24 hours, pushing to, you know, for the investigation, pushing for more staff.
Peggy says the initial investigators failed to take Gordana's disappearance seriously.
The first few hours were very crucial, and I don't think at the time that was enough done.
And then there was the rumour mill.
It came from our community, actually, that it could have been an arranged marriage, but it was far from the truth.
Was that really offensive for you?
Of course it's offensive, because I come out here when I was 14 and a half. I grew up here. This is my country. At the time, I couldn't understand why the army couldn't get involved, because my little girl went missing. And it was important to me. If it wasn't important for anyone else, it was important for our family.
The days turned into weeks and the searching proved fruitless. Months passed, then years.
If mistakes have been made in the past, all we can do is say we're going to do better in future and apologise for them.
An extraordinary admission from the then Police Commissioner, Peter Ryan, that a series of disappearances in the Newcastle-Hunter region may have been bungled by Newcastle Police, including Gordana's.
I don't think at the time that was enough done.
Her aunt only lived in the street, and the point where she was abducted was only 50 metres or so from her aunt's house.
We know that Gordana strolled all the way down the hill. Gordana's Aunt Sonia heard female screams and men's voices just down the road from her home. When they went to investigate, they saw a white Toyota Hilux speeding away. In the spot where they believed she was taken, Sonia found Gordana's plastic shopping bag. In it, she found Gordana's newly purchased T-shirt, a pair of black socks and her wallet.
Those items were the last trace of Gordana Kotevsky. At the time, a large-scale police operation failed to reveal anything. This case continues to baffle authorities more than 2 decades on, and no one has ever been able to answer that question. Who was behind the wheel of that white Hilux?
We certainly believe that that vehicle was the vehicle that abducted Gordana Kotevsky. Going back.
Detective Inspector George Radmore was thrown onto the investigation in 1998, 4 years after Gordana first disappeared, as a part of Strikeforce Fenwick, investigating a number of disappearances in the Newcastle-Hunter region.
We certainly believe it was a random incident. There doesn't appear to be any premeditation as far as targeting her specifically. It could have been anyone at that point in time that was walking in that area, and the predators who did abduct her struck at that time.
You said predators, so you think that it is more than one person?
Yes, well, we've certainly got strong information and witnesses who have seen the vehicle.
These are the two men who police believe were responsible for Gordana's abduction.
The witnesses were of such quality that they were able to produce some face images of our suspects in that matter, which were certainly released to the public at the time.
The case was reopened in 2009. At that point, Detective Inspector Radmore was in charge of the Unsolved Homicide Squad. This time around, with new forensic testing available, they revealed a partial fingerprint that they believed was most likely from one of the suspects.
A fingerprint was developed from that, but we have never identified that particular fingerprint. It certainly is frustrating that we haven't got to that stage where we can solve that for them and provide them with some closure and justice for both them and the community.
Somebody out there knows what happened that evening. They know who these two men were, and they're still covering for them. These two men are the key. But Peggy is hoping that 22 years on, someone may be willing to finally come forward.
This was at her older sister's wedding. She was a bridesmaid.
Peggy has been living with this question mark since she was 38 years old. That's the same age that Gordana would be today.
Are occasions like weddings hard now?
Very, very hard. Yeah, especially at her brother's wedding. She should have been part of it. Yes. We were lucky.
In 1996, a plaque was installed along Newcastle Harbour in memory of Gordana and other missing persons from the area. A small gesture from the community, and one that Peggy finds herself returning to frequently.
And is that hard for you to do that?
Very, very hard. Very hard. Actually, you walk past and you can visualise a lot of things, a lot of horrible things. I had my older daughter and my grandson was about 7 months at the time. I think that's what kept me going.
Somebody out there knows these two people at least two people who are responsible for this matter, and we just need them to come forward. Nothing will ever bring back her beautiful daughter, but we can find out who did this and bring them to justice, and hopefully that would have some positive effect for the Kotevsky family.
And that poor family, if you have any information, no matter how insignificant you might think it is, please call Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. That's 1800 333 000.